You always ruin everything, my mother snapped, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. My sister laughed from the couch and said it louder, slower, like she wanted it to echo. 16 years old and still a failure. Not worth celebrating. The room smelled like vanilla frosting and cheap candles, the kind you buy last minute because you don't really care. My name wasn't even written properly on the cake. One letter missing. No one noticed. No one ever did. For a second I just stood there, hands shaking, heart pounding so hard it felt loud. I wasn't planning to speak. I never did. But something inside me finally snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically, just enough to push one sentence out of my mouth. Stop talking to me like I'm nothing. Silence. Hi everyone. My name is Maribel Cross. And that sentence changed my life forever. My mom's face twisted, not with surprise but with rage. Real, unfiltered rage. The kind that waits years for permission. My sister smirked, arms folded, already enjoying the show. Standing up for myself wasn't bravery in that house. It was betrayal. Before I could even step back, my mom grabbed my arm. Hard. Her nails dug in like claws, dragging me toward the hallway. The cake slid off the table and hit the floor behind us. No one rushed to save it. No one rushed to save me either. You don't get to talk back, she hissed, shaking me. Especially not to her. I tasted blood. I don't remember when my lips split. Only the metallic sting and the way my ears rang. My sister's voice floated down the hallway, light and amused. Guess the party's over. My mom shoved me into my room and slammed the door so hard the walls rattled. Then came the words that hurt more than the blows. Pack your things, she said through the door. You're not my daughter anymore. I slid down to the floor, knees pulled to my chest, staring at the flickering glow of 16 candles still burning in the living room. Each one felt like a countdown. I didn't cry yet. Because somewhere deep inside me, under the fear and the pain, a colder thought settled in, quiet, patient, and dangerous. If I wasn't worth celebrating, then I would become something they could never ignore. The door stayed shut. I waited for footsteps. For regret. For my mom to cool down and come back sounding tired instead of cruel. That's what always happened after her storms. This time nothing came. I wiped the blood from my lip with the sleeve of my hoodie and stood up slowly. My hands were still shaking as I opened my closet. Half my clothes were already gone, folded neatly into boxes labeled with my sister's name. That's when it hit me. This wasn't anger. This was preparation. I shoved what was left of my life into an old backpack. A few shirts. My school notebook. The cracked phone my dad bought years ago before he learned silence was safer. No charger. No money. Just proof I existed. When I opened the bedroom door, the house felt different. Lighter, almost relieved. My mom stood by the front door with my shoes in her hand like she'd been waiting. You can stay with a friend, she said flatly. Don't come back. My sister leaned against the wall behind her, scrolling on her phone. She didn't even look up. 16 and homeless, she muttered. Figures. I stepped into my shoes slowly, forcing myself not to beg. Begging never worked in that house. My mom opened the door wider. And don't embarrass us, she added. You did this to yourself. Outside, the night air was cold and smelled like wet pavement. The door closed behind me with a final click that echoed down the street. No hug. No warning. No birthday wish. I walked until my legs burned and my chest hurt from holding everything in. I sat on a bus stop bench and stared at my phone, watching the battery drop. That was the first night I slept sitting up, afraid to close my eyes. And as the streetlight flickered above me, one truth settled in, sharp and permanent. They didn't just throw me out. They erased me. But erasing someone doesn't mean they disappear. Sometimes, it means they come back rewritten. Morning came without mercy. The sky turned gray, buses hissed past me, and people walked by like I was invisible. A girl curled on a metal bench with swollen eyes and yesterday's birthday still ringing in her ears. My stomach cramped so hard I had to bend forward. I hadn't eaten since the cake hit the floor. I checked my phone. 3%. No missed calls. No texts. Not even from relatives who used to pinch my cheeks and say I was sweet, just sensitive. Sensitive girls are easy to discard. I walked. School was 3 miles away. I didn't want to go, but I didn't know where else to exist. Sitting in class felt unreal, like I was watching someone else's life. My teacher asked if I was okay. I nodded. That's what survival starts with. Nodding. At lunch, I hid in the bathroom and drank water from the sink. My reflection startled me. My lip was bruised. There were fingerprints on my arm, yellow already blooming purple. Proof I couldn't explain without being accused of exaggerating. That afternoon, the counselor called me in. Someone had noticed. Maybe the silence around me was too loud. When I told her everything, my voice didn't shake. That surprised me. She looked at the marks, then at me, then quietly closed her office door. "You can't go back there," she said. The words didn't hurt. They confirmed what I already knew. By evening, I was placed with a temporary foster family. A spare room. A clean bed. A woman who handed me soup without asking questions. I cried into the bowl, embarrassed by how fast kindness broke me. Lying in that unfamiliar bed, staring at a ceiling that didn't hate me, something shifted. I wasn't safe yet. I wasn't okay. But for the first time since I spoke up, no one told me to be quiet. And as sleep finally pulled me under, a thought wrapped itself around my chest, steady and unrelenting. If surviving 16 years in that house didn't kill me, then neither would what came next. The foster house had rules, but none of them hurt. No shouting through walls. No insults disguised as jokes. No ranking children like trophies. Just quiet mornings, a shared bathroom schedule, and dinners where people asked before taking seconds. I didn't know how to sit at that table at first. I kept my shoulders tight, waiting for the mood to flip. It never did. Weeks passed. Then months. My body healed faster than my head. I still flinched when doors closed too loudly. I still apologized for existing. The woman who ran the house, calm voice, tired eyes, never corrected me with anger. She corrected me with patience. That felt heavier. School became my refuge. I stayed late, joined clubs I'd never been allowed to join, learned how to fill my time with effort instead of fear. Hunger changed too. It wasn't just food anymore. It was hunger for space. For dignity. For proof. One afternoon, a letter arrived. My sister's name was written across the front in familiar loops. Inside, a single line. "Mom says don't contact us again. You made your choice." I folded the paper carefully. I didn't tear it. I didn't cry. I placed it in my backpack like evidence. That night, lying in bed, I replayed her words from my birthday. Not worth celebrating. I said them out loud once just to hear how they sounded without power. They sounded small. Cowardly. I started working after school. Cleaning tables. Filing papers. Anything legal that paid. Every dollar felt like a brick laid under my feet. Something solid. Something mine. By 17, I stopped waiting for apologies. By 18, I stopped wanting them. Because the silence they left me with did something they never intended. Gave me room. And in that room, I began to build a version of myself they would never recognize. Not loud, not vengeful. Just unbreakable. By 19, I learned how to exist without announcing myself. I worked 2 jobs. Took night classes. Slept 4 hours when I could. Exhaustion became familiar. But it was honest exhaustion, the kind that comes from effort, not fear. Every paycheck went into an account only my name touched. That mattered more than I admitted. I didn't reach out to my family. But they reached me. It started small. A cousin liking my photo by accident. An aunt asking where I lived now. Then one night, curiosity got the better of me and I searched my sister's name online. There she was. Smiling. Celebrated. Engagement photos. A post about how family is everything. My stomach twisted, but not from jealousy, from recognition. She was still being carried. Still protected. Still loud. And still the same. I watched quietly as her life unfolded like a performance. Big announcements. Bigger promises. No substance underneath. The comments praised her. The captions praised herself. Felt familiar. Like that living room, like that cake, like me standing there invisible. One evening, an unknown number called my phone. I didn't answer. A voicemail followed. "Your sister needs help," my mother said, voice strained but proud. "You should know your place and stay out of it." I laughed. A short, hollow sound that surprised me. They didn't want me back. They wanted access. I deleted the voicemail and went back to studying. Back to working. Back to becoming. That was the night I understood something crucial. They weren't ahead of me. They were standing still. And one day they'd notice how far I'd gone. Only when they needed something from the girl they once threw away. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon, right in the middle of my shift. I almost ignored it. Unknown number. Same area code as the house I hadn't called home in years. My chest tightened anyway. Some instincts don't die, they just go quiet. I stepped outside, the air smelling like rain and hot concrete, and answered. Maribel, my mother said, softer than I'd ever heard her. Not kind. We need to talk. I didn't respond. Silence had become a skill. It's your sister, she continued. Things didn't work out the way we expected. Expected. The word made my jaw clench. The story came out in pieces. Bad decisions. Loans taken in other people's names. A business venture built on confidence instead of contracts. My sister had signed things she didn't understand because she'd never been taught consequences. Only praise. And now? I asked. There was a pause. A breath. Then the truth finally stripped bare. We're losing the house. The same house where I was dragged down a hallway. The same walls that shook when my bedroom door slammed. I leaned against the brick wall behind me and closed my eyes. My mother's voice cracked. You're smart. You always were. If you help us. No, I said gently. She inhaled sharply like she'd been struck. You owe us, she snapped, the old tone slipping through. I smiled for the first time in years. Not out of joy but clarity. I paid my debt when you left me on the street at 16. I hung up before she could answer. Standing there, phone heavy in my hand, I felt it, the shift. The quiet moment where the past loosened its grip. They were finally falling. And I was no longer underneath them. They didn't call again. They showed up. I opened my apartment door to find my mother standing there, thinner, eyes rimmed red, holding a folder like a shield. My sister stood behind her, arms crossed, face tight, not ashamed, just cornered. The hallway smelled like someone else's cooking, someone else's normal life. They looked out of place in it. We just want to talk, my mother said. I stepped aside. Not because I owed them anything, but because I wanted to see them inside a space they couldn't control. They sat on my couch stiff. My sister scanned the room, counting, measuring. He always did that. My mother opened the folder. Papers slid out, foreclosure notices, overdue balances, signatures I recognized. They'll take everything, my mother whispered. If you co-sign, if you help, we can fix this. My sister finally spoke. You always were good at cleaning up messes. I looked at her hands. Perfect nails. No ink stains. No calluses. Still untouched by consequence. I won't co-sign, I said calmly. But I'll buy the debt. They stared at me. I'll purchase what's owed, I continued, voice steady. Through my attorney. Wiggly. Quietly. Hope flashed, brief, greedy. But, I added, the property transfers to me. Full ownership. No exceptions. My sister laughed. You can't. I can, I said. And I will. Silence fell heavy and thick. My mother's lips trembled. She understood before my sister did. This wasn't rescue. This was reckoning. As they left, my mother turned back once. Why are you doing this? I met her eyes, not angry, not cold. Because you taught me exactly how power works. The door closed behind them. And for the first time I knew, the ending was finally in my hands. The paperwork took 3 weeks. 3 quiet, controlled weeks where lawyers spoke for me and silence did the rest. I never stepped back into that house. I didn't need to. Ownership doesn't require presence, only proof. On a clear morning, I received the final confirmation. The property was mine. Not as a favor. Not as forgiveness. As fact. I drove there alone. The house looked smaller than I remembered. The walls hadn't changed, but I had. I stood in the driveway where my mother once told me I wasn't her daughter anymore. I felt nothing sharp, just distance. Like visiting a place from a dream you've already outgrown. I didn't evict them immediately. I gave them 30 days. No lectures. No speeches. Just a formal notice delivered by someone else's hands. My sister called screaming. My mother left voicemails that swung between apology and accusation. I didn't respond. On the last day I watched from my car as they carried boxes out. My sister's face was tight with disbelief. My mother looked smaller than ever. Neither of them looked at the house one last time. That told me everything. I sold the property a month later. With the money I paid off my education, invested quietly, and donated a portion to a youth shelter. The kind with metal benches and flickering lights. The kind that saves girls who are told they're not worth celebrating. I kept one thing from the house. The birthday photo my sister never posted. The cake on the floor, candles still burning. 16 flames. Not a failure. Just a beginning. If this ever happened to you, say, same in the comments.